we'll go ahead and we'll switch over now to our second presenter. Bailey, if you want to go ahead and get your stuff ready there. Thank you again, Parker. All right, and we are extremely excited to have this second presentation with a live reading of a lovely piece that Bailey Dumlao has created. And he's going to have a little introduction here first, but Bailey, just want to make sure you are good to go.
Yep, I'm all good here.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, I'll hand over the time to you then.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Bailey Dumlao, and I'd like to welcome you to my presentation of Giovanni's Room, an original script adaptation based on the 1956 novel by James Baldwin. My adaptation follows David, an American man who escapes to Paris to explore his sexuality. In the Parisian nightlife scene, rich men trade and buy and sell young boys, and David becomes a beacon of hope for Giovanni, who's an Italian teenager. When David abandons Giovanni for a final time for his fiancée, Hella, he sets off a chain of events that exposes everyone, including himself, and leaves him to take responsibility for the physical turmoil that he's caused. My main goal in an analysis is an analysis and criticism of David's complicated misogynistic relationship with his fiancée, Hella, and of the internalized homophobia in his relationship with Giovanni. As the playwright, I have the freedom to modify the source material, and Baldwin's original novel focuses on white characters, but I saw it as my job to include the BIPOC characters that he didn't feel like he could include at the time. These additions give a lot more pressure societally to the piece and to David's journey. Baldwin gave us a novel that treats homosexuality with an incredible amount of tenderness. And for the time period, his approach was really revolutionary. And so this script offers me the unique opportunity to incorporate and expand on the sensuality and the physical moments between these characters. And I feel like it acts as a continuation of the work that Baldwin started back in 1956. And now I will invite you to enjoy an abbreviated excerpt of the final sequence from the script, which finds Giovanni immediately after being abandoned for a final time by David.
A nightmare. Giovanni enters. A storm rages. Guillaume appears in his dressing gown.
Giovanni!
I thought you might need a barman.
I figured you and your American would be long gone by now.
No, my American has flown.
Oh, the Americans always fly. They are not serious.
No, I suppose he never was, but I'm here about my job.
Undress. Get comfortable. We'll both be more comfortable.
Guillaume, I've told you before that I'm not like that. Please.
Earn it.
Guillaume closes in. Blackout immediately too.
The house in the south of France. David bolts upright in bed.
No!
Hella stirs.
David? David, honey, you're all right.
I'm not so sure about that. I saw... Never mind.
I wish you'd tell me what it is. David, let me help you. You've been lifeless and limp since we got here. It's been days. Can't we just enjoy this vacation before we go back to the humdrum of American life?
You're sweet. It's nothing. It'll go away.
A beat. She sits next to him and takes his hand.
It's Giovanni, isn't it? You think you've done something awful to him by leaving him in that room. Nothing you could have done would have helped him. Stop torturing yourself.
He wanted me to stay in that room with him. He begged me to stay. I didn't tell you. We had an awful fight the night I went there to get my things. He cried.
He was in love with you. It's not your fault, David. You couldn't keep him from falling in love with you. You couldn't have kept him from killing that awful man.
You don't know anything about it. I know you want to help me, but just let me be. It'll be all right soon.
You've been saying that for a long time. Don't you think we should go home?
Go home? What for?
What are we staying here for? Please, I want to go home. I want to get married. I want to start having kids. I want you.
He moves away.
What is it you're not telling me? You've gone away and I can't find you. If you'd only let me reach you.
She forces herself into his arms. He pulls away. She stays there swaying.
David, let me be a woman. I don't care what it costs. I'll wear my hair long. I'll give up cigarettes. I'll throw away the books. Just let me be a woman. Take me. It's what I want. It's all I want. I don't care about anything else. Don't throw me back into the sea, David. Let me stay here with you.
She gently kisses him. He breaks free.
I have to go.
Where? Where are you going?
You ask so many questions. Please, just get a hold of yourself.
He tears off into the arms of the ferry. Lights shift. A gay bar, lively and loud. David and the ferry, as a sailor, move into what was Guillaume's room, entangled. They begin to undress when Hella breaks through. She freezes.
Oh. David,
Hasn't she got the wrong bar?
it's not the only thing I got wrong.
Well, now you know.
I've known it for a long time.
She turns away. David moves towards her, but the sailor grabs him.
Is she?
The bar dims. Hella's suitcase appears beside her.
I'm going home. I wish I'd never left it.
I wasn't lying to you.
I was the one you were talking to. I was the one you wanted to come with you to this terrible house in the middle of nowhere. I was the one you said you wanted to marry. Where's the truth in any of that?
I was lying to myself.
Oh, I see. That makes everything different, of course. Of course, shout it to those hills out there. Shout it to the peasants. Shout how guilty you are. How you love to be guilty. You can run off into the arms of some other boy like you have every other night. Did you think I wouldn't notice? God, I'm so embarrassed.
She takes the suitcase and angrily moves into the bedroom, tossing it onto the bed. She furiously packs it.
You know, I knew it, I did. That's what makes me so ashamed. If only you'd told me the truth then. Don't you see how unfair it was to wait for me to find out, to put all of that burden on me? I wanted your wife. I wanted to be your wife. I wanted your name. I wanted your children, David. If you just told me, I'd be home by now, dancing with some man who wanted to make me a mother, to make me a woman, and I'd let him. Why not?
I didn't know it then, Ella. I only knew I had to get out of Giovanni's room.
Out of his room? Out of his room? It all comes back to that boy. Well, you're out. And now I'm getting out. It's only poor Giovanni who won't get out. Don't you see how that beautiful little boy has wrecked your life? I think he's wrecked mine too. God, Americans should never come to Europe. It means they can never be happy again. What am I going to tell my family? Oh, David, you mean my fiance?
The faggot?
Yes! You aren't any better than those men at those bars, David. You are so much more beautiful on the outside, but disgusting on the inside. I should have known. You've let Giovanni go to slaughter, and now you're losing me too. And for what?
One day when you're happy, try to forgive me.
I don't know anything about happiness anymore. I don't know anything about forgiveness. Don't come to the station with me. I can take care of myself. I wish I could drink all the way to Paris and die before I leave port. God, I wanted you. What am I supposed to do? What did you expect me to do? Answer me!
I love you.
Quit saying that. It hurts too much, David. I don't ever want to hear you say that to me ever again.
She takes off her engagement ring and places it in David's hands. She takes her suitcase and exits, slamming the door. David stands words in the quiet. He holds a small envelope, the letter from Jacques.
I loved him. I don't think I will ever love anyone like that again. Everything is dark and cold without him. I only wish I knew what he was thinking about. But I've got a train to Paris that's more certain.
David begins to slowly undress. He takes a moment to consider his body in a mirror.
The approaching morning is the last morning of his life. At least to me. I wonder if he cares. I hope the last thing Giovanni will ever see will be something soft and simple. I hope it's our gray, lifeless sky. I hope the morning mist kisses his face.
Giovanni appears on the other side in prison.
I hope he isn't alone. I wish someone were here with me. It's getting late.
It's getting late.
David might see Giovanni, and they stare at one another in an unbearably long silence. David reaches for Giovanni's face, but the sound of a key in a lock. Jacques and Guillaume grab Giovanni and force him to his knees. He cries out. David does not react. David dresses as the world closes in on Giovanni. David meets his gaze.
Giovanni?
Lights fade on Giovanni as the sound of his exhale echoes through the space. David takes the blue envelope and rips it into pieces. He sinks to his knees. Lights rise on the silhouetted crucified forms of Hella and Giovanni on either side of David. David lets out an anguished scream. Blackout. End of play.
I'd like to say a quick thank you to Rachel Marie, Brett, and Jack, as well as Dennis McClernand, and anyone else in the Theater UAB group that's helped me with these readings and this work. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Well, now that I'm off mic, I can do some applause for you there. That was fantastic. But yeah, let's open it up for people who have questions.
Okay, I have a question. I was waiting to try to give someone else a chance. Okay, first, this is fantastic. I've missed theater. This was great. Thank you, Bailey. My question, because you intentionally want to diversify the cast, and in your writing process, were you seeking out sensitivity readers to check yourself? And if you did, what was that process like?
It's come into the conversation a couple of times as I've worked. The only diversity that I felt comfortable really leaning into at this point in this process is writing David as an Asian American, because I'm Asian American. But as I am pushing for more diversity in that, I am trying to include those people in the readings to understand how they might inform and take this a little differently. It's a slow process, though.
Did you adapt the whole novel?
Yes, the entire novel. It's about a 96-page script. It's a combination of my dialogue and Baldwin's writing, and I reorganized the pieces of the novel into something that flows and has some theatricality to it.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Are there other questions from the audience? Purposefully staying quiet here for just a second.
I will say that the entire most recent draft will be posted on the Canvas page if you want to read the whole thing.
We have a nice comment from the chat room talking about how David was physically in the closet. Whether that was intentional or not. Was that intentional?
I mean, just a little bit. More for the sound moving, but we went with it.
Awesome. All right. Got a lot of good feedback there in the chat room. I just have one quick question. In this adaptation process from a novel to a play, were there particular parts that you found particularly challenging in that process?
Yes, there's a lot of places where Baldwin kind of, because of the limitations of the time period that he was writing for, he likes to do this like fade to black thing whenever sensuality comes into the question. And so it's taken me a little bit of learning to write about sex and love like that. And then also there's some pieces of the puzzle that he really skips over like months at a time that I've had to kind of bridge the gap and understand why or how these people would actually live together instead of just having someone talk about it. Which was definitely a little bit of a hurdle at first, but it took a couple of drafts before it was like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want to this. You kidding me?
Fantastic. All right. I know we're a little bit over time. Does any last questions or comments from the crowd?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay.
Go ahead, Devin.
Okay. I just want to say that I love my theater family so much, and I'm very proud of all of y'all. And I did want to mention, because Giovanni's Room is one of my favorite books of all time. James Baldwin actually did an interview regarding this book and just talking about how strictly it's not a book about homosexuality, but deeper than that, it's a story about what happens when you can't love someone properly. And I think that Bailey captured that wonderfully, especially in this last scene. So shout out to you.
Thank you.
Wonderful comment. Anything else before we close the Zoom meeting? All right. So once again, we will have this posted later today, and they will also upload their presentation slides as well as the script to their Canvas page. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I wish you a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.